Hello and welcome back to the channel. It's here in the free agency period after the 2010-11 season. So obviously that means we unfortunately did not win the Stanley Cup, but it also means that Bryan McCabe did not retire, because if he'd retired I would have just like stopped and recorded it, the kind of it's like the recap and stuff straight from that point. When like, because it's kind of like the modern games where like there's like a basic post Stanley Cup pre-draft, there's like a pop-up, like the game stops and pops up with all the players that have retired and stuff. It's a little like it basically is like kind of cumbersome to like go through. In sense, it's not like you can't really like sort the players like manually or anything. But I think it sorts them by like games played, like most to least. So he should be up pretty high, so he'll be over 1,000 games played. But he wasn't there obviously because like whether they went through the entire list just to double check. Then he was in the contract stream. We'll get into that in a second. But yes, let's get into the recap. So let's go to the Stats Central here. Team standings. So yeah, I said we didn't win the cup. We didn't even, unfortunately, this season make the playoffs. So we finished, was at 18th in the league overall with 87 points, 40 wins, 35 losses, 7 OT losses. And to see, I guess it'll probably be easier to show if we go to the Eastern Conference, because that's like the West doesn't really matter that much in the grand scheme of things. But yeah, see, so finished ninth in the East, technically tied for eighth. So there was three teams. If I scroll down, it was New Jersey, us, and then the Maple Leafs. And I'm guessing I don't know what the tiebreakers were back, like 100% with 100% certainty what the tiebreakers were back when this format existed. Because I think they've changed slightly, like in recent years and stuff. But I'm assuming it's just probably just straight up like wins or regulation wins. Like I think the current format's like regulation plus overtime wins or something like that. It's like try and de-emphasize shootout wins or something. But I'm guessing it's probably just straight up wins, because we finished with us and Toronto finished with 40 and New Jersey finished with 41, and they made it to the playoffs. So I'm guessing that's what the tiebreaker was. But yes, we finished ninth in the East, literally tied for points, but that wasn't enough, unfortunately. Which I guess this kind of makes sense, because I think the owner goal at the beginning of the season was like they're like, this is the owner here. We want you to have 42 wins or whatever. And I guess that would have been enough, I think, to get us in, because it would have been 42 would have been 4 extra points. That would have given us 91. So we still barely would have made it. But I guess it's also the whole butterfly, like who we'd have taken them off of and all that stuff. But yeah, so I guess the honor goals are a pretty good kind of gate, because he was like, yeah, I want 42 wins. I want you to make the playoffs. So we didn't hit the targets, unfortunately. But I think I turned off getting fired, because it's not like EAFC or FIFA where there's like these other kind of goals and they actually make sense and stuff. This like that NHL's never really had that kind of stuff. Like, so I figured let's turn off getting fired. Especially it's gonna be a short one anyways. But yeah, so we didn't make the playoffs. Finished 87 points. I think once again, we probably got a little bit lucky last season. Once again, we finished it was 3.23 goals for per game and 3.35 goals against per game. Even though I think it's like, is the gap bigger? The gap's like actually it's like slightly bigger. Last year it was like 0.11. This time it's 0.12. But we had like giving like, even though it's like that minuscule like decimal point amount, clearly make a difference, because letting in more goals than you're scoring is never a recipe for success. But yes, that's unfortunate. Let's go into, I guess, player stats is the place to go. Next, so we can pull up our players, because that's the most important part. I can also scroll up here so we can see the top 10 scorers on my little spreadsheet. But we sort here, yeah, Michael Frolik, breakout season, 92 points, 42 goals, 50 assists, absolutely baller. His contract year for him too, but I think it was a relatively cheap deal, I think, so it's pretty solid from him. Booth and Frendel tied for second, so good stuff from them. The top line, I'm pretty sure it's Frolik, Booth, and Horton, so Brendel cooking on the second line with Mikko Koivu and friends. Speaking of Mikko Koivu, here he is. Finished with 19, 28 for 19 goals, 20 assists, 47 points. Which I checked Stefan, make sure I'm not butchering the guy's name. Yeah, Stefan Weiss, who we traded. Remember that was they were like the two big pieces in the trade. He also finished with 47 points, so things kind of worked out evenly in that sense. But Minnesota finished first in the West with 117 points and won the President's Trophy, and we did make the playoffs. But in terms of like player for player, it kind of worked out fine. Now you see two below him. Here is Bryan McCabe. Here he finished. Then he goes, how many points less? 9 points less with 8 goals, 37 assists for 45 points. So a little bit of a regression from him, which is, I don't know, it's all partially explained by the fact that they only played 2 games, because again, how the system works I play with is the team we lose to the playoff. The team we lose from the playoffs are like our rivals for like 3 seasons, which can get extended if we beat them in the playoffs again. But that means I play like the game that we lost to them, which obviously it was Game 6, which is at home for us. We were at the home team, Game 6. So every time we play the Rangers at home, I play the games to kind of ensure we don't get embarrassed by the rival again. So we played, I think it was like one in like it was like the third or fourth game of the season, like in October, and then like the third or fourth game from the end, like it was like the third to last game of the regular season, I think. So like everywhere in between, we kind of had like big streaks and stuff. So like I attribute those 2 games to his overall points tally, but 45 points I think is still pretty solid from him. A little bit of a regression, but he's getting older and he is regressing in overall because he ended last season as an 82. I feel like he started as an 83, if I'm not mistaken. He regressed to an 82 at the end of last season, then he regressed even further to an 81. And this season, I'm pretty sure if you look here, it's just stats. But I think if I hit this screen, yeah, his potential, you see it's all D minus D. So I guess I'll get into it now. He signed a 1-year contract extension. I forgot the value of the contract. But I'm guessing this next season is probably going to be the last season because his potential is like a D, I think. It's not a, I think C is basically like the standard neutral one, like kind of like mid potential for prospects. And then like once you hit like 27 or whatever, when EA thinks you stop growing as a player, like you hit C potential. As you get like older, you like once you're kind of getting to that decline like phase, you're about to retire. Your potential hits like at least letter grades below C, so he's thinking he's like a D or something like that. We signed him to he signed a 1-year contract, so I'm guessing next season will be the last season, which is unfortunate. But in terms of other scoring, so league scorer of the league was Simon Gagne with Dallas, who they kind of seem to have built somewhat of a super team. So they had him and Jeff Carter were tied for first scoring with 102 points, but we were both on Dallas. But if you notice, Simon Gagne left in free agency. If you like go back to the screen here, it says top free agents. Yeah, so he's still there. But in terms of free agency stuff, the only move I really needed to make, besides because I re-upped what I needed to re-up and stuff, was Miroslav Satan didn't want to re-sign. His potential was like kind of the same situation. He wanted a 2-year contract, but his potential was kind of the same situation where it was like in like the bad letter grades, he's like 36 or something like that. So I was like, all right, he doesn't want to re-up because of playing time, so I'll let him go. So I signed Chris Stewart, I think is his first name. Like, let me see. If I go to, oh, he probably should be in the stats. If I look at teams player stats, regular season, he should be in here somewhere. Because like I say, Tom is a right wing. If you go, it's alphabetical. Here we go. Oh, he's not in here? That's interesting. Let's go to contracts then, I guess. Contracts. Right wingers. There you go. He's there up top. Chris Stewart. Yes, I signed him to a 4-year, $2.5 million year contract. He's still got. He's only 23. He's got B minus potential. I think still pretty good. Because I think there was someone. I think Luis Mongani was the other option, or was someone else. I forget. It was like the other potential person I was going for. Oh, it was Dustin Bufflin I was looking at. Because like he's going to be like a second or third line player. Because we already have Horton and Brendel, who are 86 and 85 overall, so he's going to be a third line player. So the other option was Dustin Bufflin, but he like hit 27, so he'd stopped growing, and he wanted like even more money than this. So I was like, I'll go for the younger player with higher upside for the cheaper salary. Seems pretty much like a win in every scenario except for like immediate overall. But I figured he potentially could blossom over the season. So yeah, I signed Chris Stewart. But I think actually we can see potentials here. We can go to defenseman and see. We sort by overall. Here he is. Yeah, 1 year, $1.55 million contract. And I see his potential is a D, which is not good, I think. So I think he's probably going to continue to regress. So this, as I said, next season is probably going to be the last season with him. But I guess kind of wrap up here. We'll go into the awards and stuff just to wrap up. I kind of hit all the free agency stuff, so I'll go to the awards and I'll kind of talk about expectations. But yeah, Dallas, as I said, kind of built the super team, ended up winning the Stanley Cup against not the Minnesota Wild, though the President's Trophy against our state rivals, Tampa Bay Lightning, who finished third in the East with 98 points. Dallas finished fifth in the East with 95 points. Pretty surprising because they had the two top scorers in the league. But I guess that they're kind of star power told in the playoffs, and they kind of cruised through. I don't think they cruised through. Actually, this was a 7-game series, but they ended up winning. Ross said him and Jeff Carter and someone guy were tied, but I guess Jeff Carter had more goals. I think that's what the tiebreaker is. So he won the Art Ross. The Hart, like this game, I forget. There for some whatever reason, like loves goalies for the Hart Trophy and the Conn Smythe. So Bobby Lou won the Hart. Norris went to Dion Phaneuf. Spongania won the Lady Byng. Corey Schneider, Isles and MSG Networks legend with the Calder. But yes, I see. Like I said, the game loves goalies for like kind of the MVP and the Conn Smythe for whatever reason. So Mari Turco won the Conn Smythe. Vezina went to Evgeny Nabokov on the Minnesota Wild. Not surprising because they had 117 points, so he almost had a ton of wins. He also had the Jennings, so they lost the fewest goals against as well. Masterton went to Marian Hossa on the Calgary Flames. Trevor Lewis of the Kings won the Selke. Thomas Vanek, who finished 5th in scoring, but technically kind of fourth if you consider Gagne and Carter tied for first with 95 points, won the Lester B. Pearson Award, which is like I think the equivalent, like the name now is the Ted Lindsay, but it's like the Players Association voted best player. Rocket Richard went to Marian Gaborik, who finished second or third, depending on how you look at it, in scoring with 101 points. And then that's all the awards, so that's kind of in terms of that stuff. But in terms of, I guess, so as I said, looks like this next season should be the last season because McCabe's overall is regressing and his potential is a D. He only wanted a 1-year contract, so I have a feeling he's going to retire after next season. So hopefully, in terms of expectations, I don't know. In terms of a roster, I think it is kind of improving. If I look at it, like it's basically like I guess I don't know because like Stillman, he was the other older player. He really regressed to a 79 overall. I signed him to up to 1-year contract, which I probably shouldn't have done, but kind of rock. We're gonna rock with him. He's a veteran. He's part of the leadership group. We'll rock with him. So he regressed a little bit, but rep pick on the fourth line improved in overall. And then Sean Matthias improved a lot. So like our centers down the middle are for a league, 85 overall. Sean Matthias, 84 overall. And Mikko Koivu, 84 overall. So we kind of had improvements there. And then on the wing, we had some nice improvements in overall. And then Chris Stewart also better than Miroslav Saitan. And Roman Pollock, he went up from a 79 to an 82. They re-signed him to that 1-year deal. So we had some decent improvement in the roster as a whole. So I feel like hopefully, because we're literally like we're tied for basically enough points to make it to the playoffs. Hopefully we can kind of take that like extra one, like the improvement in our roster should give us that like extra couple of wins to get us into the playoffs, and hopefully we can go on a run and win the cup. Because if not, I have a feeling it's going to be a bust and it's going to be a failure, unfortunately. But I'm having a lot of fun with this one. So yeah, so thank you for checking this episode out, and hopefully you check out next episode to see if we either won the Stanley Cup, this was a huge success, or Bryan McCabe retires and it's a big old failure. But watch next episode, check it out. So hopefully you do, and thank you.